If you look now in Guatemala, in the Windwards, in Sri Lanka, there is intercropping, where we have had substantial farming communities in our core product categories, if you like, of bananas and coffee. There is now routine intercropping. They are growing nuts, they're growing citrus, they're growing mangoes. They're also diversifying out of agriculture and into tourism, for example. More than that, farmers increasingly in the fair trade system are now investing with their social premium, with the extra bit that they decide how they spend, on their future and their family's future, on the schools and the IT that their children will be able to benefit from, so their children will have a choice. Poverty, of course, as you well know, is all about the denial of choice. If you have choice, you have the beginnings of a strategy out of poverty. Investing in your child's future so they can then take a different career path and a different employment path is surely one of the great justices of modern times. It is deeply fair. Now, there is a tendency for free trade theorists, I'm afraid, to argue on producers' behalves, on the basis that we in industrialised nations know what's best for them. I believe this is arrogant, at the very least, and rather dangerous. I'd say it's better to ask the producers themselves. It's a great shame there are no fair trade producers here, because they will be able to tell you at first hand exactly what goes on, exactly the difference it makes, exactly the scalability, and exactly why it's inherently deeply fair and just. My own organisation, Tradecraft, a fair trade company, has been trading in fair trade goods for 30 years or more, and we have a long-term, very open and accountable partnership arrangement with our producer groups. They know and we know what we each expect of each other. It's agreed, it's nailed down. Yes, we agree price, but we also agree all of the terms of trade. We agree how we help them with marketing, how we help them with their business scales, their business models. We organise pre-order finance for them so they can actually develop the goods that they're then going to sell back to us. It's an articulated and agreed partnership. Everybody at every stage knows what the game is. How can that possibly be unfair? Again, ask the producers. They will tell you what they get. They will tell you what they get from fair trade and how very different it is from the mainstream. Now, so much for the farmers. Let's look at the consumers. Is fair trade unfair to consumers? It's been suggested that fair trade in some way dupes consumers, that we mislead you, co-opt you in your millions into buying fair trade, and also that we have some kind of covert political agenda to upset the balance of world trade. Well, you know, paranoid, entertaining, but paranoid, I'm afraid. Fair trade does exactly what it says on the tin. It says, and it claims, and it does, everything in unity. If you look at fair trade, it is no more and no less than what it says. It sets standards of transparency and accountability, which I think other companies, all other companies around the world, would do well to follow. Again, to pick Tradecraft, my company, Tradecraft was the first public limited company in the UK to publish audited social accounts. And since then we've routinely won awards for the quality of our social accounting. What that means is you can go onto our website, any of you, whenever you choose, and drill down to find out what all of our major stakeholders think of us. We look at our triple bottom line, our economic, but also our environmental, and our social impact. You can see what the producers who sell to us think of selling to Tradecraft. You can see what the customers who buy from us think of buying from Tradecraft. You can see what the staff who work there think of working in Tradecraft. It is incredibly open, warts and all, on the website. It's scary reading. I'm a director of Tradecraft, and it's hard to deal with some of that sometimes because it's incredibly honest and incredibly public. There is nothing hidden about it. But what that does is that it galvanises the board of Tradecraft to collect some of the mistakes that we make each year. Everybody does, and my goodness, we improve. We set standards, incredible standards, to move year on year through improving on our social, our environmental, and economic performance. If other companies did that, the world would be a far fairer place. So don't be fooled by the ideologues. We are not covert, we are not hidden. Go on the website and have a look. It sets standards which others should really follow. So, we're not unfair to consumers. We tell it like it is, and you can walk away if you want to. It's a completely open transaction. Lastly, is fair trade unfair to businesses? Fair trade may be small, certainly it's a niche, but it's an incredibly fast-growing niche. And some of the biggest skeptics, some of the biggest corporate skeptics of fair trade, Nestle to pick one example, have now recognised the value of being in rather than out. Consumers have consistently shown that they care more about price, more than just about price. They want to know where their goods come from. They want to know who's made them. They want to know what's gone into it. and companies are recognising that. It's not just a market signal, of course, it's also an incredibly growing market, and companies want to be a part of it. What self-respecting company would not want to be part of a growing market? To turn away from it would be absolutely insane, and bad business practice. The shareholders would throw the directors out of the door. I certainly would. Now, what this means is that Fairtrade, because it's not unfair to companies, it means it's a model, if you like, of how companies could operate. But let's not forget that most companies don't take any account of their impact, don't bother about finding out whether they're paying a fair price or not, and there are some huge, incredible imbalances of power in mainstream trade. Fairtrade is a model of good practice, but let's not forget that the majority of companies treat trade incredibly unfairly. Here's a couple of recent examples. In the UK, as I'm sure you know, the 4 largest grocery retailers account for nearly 3/4 of all grocery sales, an incredible concentration of power. The UK Competition Commission has recently ruled on unfair price fixing by some of these supermarkets in the way they sell us our milk. That's a grounds for concern. Collusion and desperate unfairness. Equally, I haven't finished. Equally, the Competition Commission in a separate report has recently ruled that some of the major supermarkets are unfairly passing risk down the supply chain towards their suppliers and rendering suppliers more vulnerable. It's a fact, it's out there on the web. You can go and have a look on the Competition Commission's report. Their immediate findings are just out. To conclude,
okay,
you come in...
They were overpaying for milk.
Well, the point is, the Competition Commission said that the supermarkets are acting unfairly. It's
They
not
were
fair
doing
trade
fair
that's unfair,
trade.
it's the supermarket that's unfair. Now, to conclude, the current dominant trading system operates in such a way that keeps people poor and benefits the rich. Let's not forget, it's really important to remember this, 1/5 of humanity live in countries where many people think nothing of spending $2 a day on a cappuccino. But we all know, or at least we should know, that half of the world has to live on $2 a day or less. So there is an incredible injustice out there, an incredible scale of unfairness. Like many great theories, the concept of free trade, wonderful liberalised free trade, works better on paper than it does in real life. Just like the theory that the world is flat. Just like the theory that if steam engines carried people at more than 20 miles an hour, then they would suffocate. Just like the theory that it was impossible scientifically to have snow on the top of Kilimanjaro and Mount Kenya. The inconvenient reality of trade is the undoing of free trade. So, thankfully, something constructive can be done. Direct action through the kind of responsible business practice that is at the heart of fair trade means that producers, consumers and businesses can all interact fairly and justly, and thank God for it.
I would like to thank Mike for his speech. Now, speaking in second proposition is Rahul Nankishore. Rahul is one of our union characters, and down on your order sheets, he's down as something of a union wit. He's also quite a good debater as well, so please give him a warm welcome.
Before I proceed with my speech, let me say, first of all, I have the greatest respect for my colleagues on the other side of the floor. I think all of us tonight share a common set of objectives. We all want to end poverty. We all want to foster development. We just have different ideas of what the best way to do this is. In fact, our ideas of what the best way to do this is are not all that different. We all recognize that trade is a valuable tool